Stop waiting for approval. Stop waiting for someone to tell you you're worthy, ready, or capable. Nobody is coming to validate your dream. That's your responsibility. You've spent too long asking for permission to be great, too long hiding your potential behind fear, doubt, and other people's opinions. Today you draw a line. Today you decide that your purpose is louder than their opinions. Bet on yourself. Move without permission, because greatness doesn't wait, and neither should you. When I tell you your dream is your responsibility, I'm not saying it from a place of comfort. I'm saying it from experience. There was a time in my life when I waited for people to clap for me, to validate me, to tell me I was doing the right thing. I used to think somebody was going to come rescue me, pull me out of my situation, give me a chance, open the door. But nobody came. I was homeless, sleeping in abandoned buildings, digging in trash cans for food. You think anybody was walking around asking me, hey, are you okay? Do you need help chasing your dream? No. I had to realize that if I didn't get up, if I didn't push myself, if I didn't take full responsibility for my life, nothing was going to change. I remember waking up some nights in that building, cold and hungry, feeling like life had cheated me, feeling like I deserved better. But here's the reality. Deserving something doesn't give it to you. Wanting something doesn't make it yours. Crying about something doesn't bring it closer. I had to stop blaming my circumstances and start owning my decisions. I had to tell myself, if I don't move, nothing moves. And that's what I'm telling you today. Your dream is not your parents' job, and not your friend's job, not society's job. It's your job. I had every excuse to quit. I had every excuse to quit. I had every reason to say it's too hard, but excuses don't elevate you. Excuses don't feed you. Excuses don't take you from where you are to where you want to be. What changed my life was the moment I stopped saying, why me? And started saying, try me. The moment I stopped waiting for recognition and decided to recognize myself. The moment I stopped waiting for someone to push me and push myself. No, and listen to me carefully. The moment you take full ownership, everything shifts. When you stop waiting for support and start becoming your own support system, doors open. When you stop needing permission and start giving yourself permission, opportunities appear. When you stop expecting someone else to carry your dream, you finally start walking toward it. And nobody's coming to save you. That's your job. You got to understand something deep. Approval is a trap. I didn't learn that in a classroom. I learned that in the trenches. I learned it when I was younger, constantly trying to fit in, constantly trying to impress people who didn't care whether I succeeded or failed. I wasted years trying to get people to clap for me, trying to prove myself to folks who weren't even paying attention. And every time I waited for someone to validate me, I got stuck. I didn't move. I didn't grow. I stayed exactly where I was because I was more concerned about how I looked than who I was becoming. Man, you don't realize how dangerous approval is until it starts controlling your life. There were moments when I knew what I needed to do, but I didn't do it because I wondered what people would say. I wondered if I would look stupid. I wondered if somebody would laugh. Let me tell you something. I slept on floors. I slept in abandoned buildings. And during those nights, there was nobody's opinion that could help me. Nobody's approval could feed me. I never met a single person whose validation could get me out of the streets. And I started asking myself, why am I living my life for people who aren't living theirs for me? The day I stopped chasing approval was the day my life changed. The moment I stopped worrying about whether people liked me and started focusing on whether I respected myself, everything shifted. When I was working on my goals, I wasn't getting applause. I wasn't getting likes. I wasn't getting support. Sometimes I was getting laughed at, but consistency beats approval, discipline beats applause, and purpose beats popularity every single time. Menace, I had to learn to move even when nobody understood me, to grind even when nobody believed in me, to stay focused even when I felt alone. And that's the point. Your greatest breakthroughs won't come when the world is cheering for you. They'll come when you learn to cheer for yourself. When you stop needing people to say yes and you start saying yes to yourself, approval will slow you down. Approval will make you doubt yourself. Approval will keep you average. Stop waiting for people to agree with your dream. It's not theirs to approve. You got to take action before you feel ready. Because if you're waiting for the perfect moment, you're going to be waiting for the rest of your life. I had to learn that the hard way. When I first started trying to change my life, I didn't feel confident. I didn't feel qualified. I didn't feel prepared. I was a high school dropout, sleeping wherever I could, trying to figure out who I was and where I was going. Nothing in my life looked like success. Nothing felt like I was on the right path, but I moved anyway. I took steps even when they were shaky. I made decisions even when fear was louder than faith. Bland people think confidence comes first, but it doesn't. Confidence comes from doing the thing you're scared of. Confidence comes from showing up when you don't feel ready. I remember the first time I ever spoke in front of a group. I wasn't polished. I wasn't experienced. I didn't have fancy perfect delivery. All I had was a message burning inside me and a desire to change my story. I was nervous. I was unsure, but I stepped up anyway. And that one act, taking action before I felt ready, opened the door to everything that came after. I mean, you don't grow by waiting. You grow by doing. And I'm telling you right now, some of the biggest blessings in your life are on the other side of actions you're too scared to take. Too many of you are waiting to feel motivated, waiting to feel confident, waiting for everything to line up and make sense. Let me be real with you. When I was living out of a trash bag, there was nothing that made sense. When I was struggling to get back in school, nothing felt easy. When I was trying to rebuild my life, nothing felt certain. But I kept moving. I kept pushing. I kept acting, even when I didn't have all the answers. Man, you don't need to feel ready. You need to be willing to fail, willing to learn, willing to grow, willing to look imperfect while you get better. Stop letting fear talk you out of your breakthrough. Stop waiting for the feeling. Start creating it. Move before you feel ready, because readiness comes from the movement. Your work ethic has to speak louder than opinions, because opinions don't build anything. Opinions don't pay bills. Opinions don't move your life forward. And up to 7 now, you know you're sad. And I learned that when people had a lot to say about me, but none of them were willing to help me. When I was out there struggling, sleeping in abandoned buildings, trying to survive, trying to find direction, people had all kinds of opinions. They judged me, they doubted me, they whispered, they laughed. But not one of those opinions changed my reality. What changed my reality was when I got up every day and worked, even when nobody saw it, even when nobody believed it would amount to anything. I remember when I decided to go back to school, people told me it was pointless. They told me I was too far behind, too distracted, too unfocused. They told me someone like me didn't come back from that kind of failure. And for a second, those voices got in my head. I wondered if they were right. But then I realized something. If I let their opinions define me, I'd never become anything. So I decided my work ethic had to be louder. Every assignment, every late night study session, every hour I put into changing my life, it was all me saying, I am not who you think I am. I am who I work to become. Man, you've got to reach a point where you stop explaining yourself and start showing yourself. Stop talking about what you're going to do and start putting in the work that makes people take notice. When I was waking up early, grinding, studying, practicing, improving, nobody was clapping. Nobody was calling me talented. But the work was building something inside me. It was building discipline. It was building confidence. It was building character. And eventually, the results started drowning out the noise. People will always have something to say. They'll doubt you, question you, underestimate you. But none of that matters if your consistency is stronger than their criticism. You don't win by arguing. You win by executing. You win by producing. You win by showing up day after day, long after others have stopped watching. So let them talk. You keep working and make sure your grind is always louder than their opinions. Betting on yourself isn't just a mindset. It's a decision you have to remake every single day. And I say that because I know what it feels like to doubt yourself. I know what it feels like to wake up and wonder if you've got anything left in the tank. When I was out there with nothing, no money, no degree, no stability, no clear future, I didn't have a long list of people telling me I could make it. I didn't have a crowd cheering me on. I didn't have family members lining up to encourage me. Most days, all I had was me. And if I didn't believe in myself, nobody else was going to do it for me. There were days when I looked in the mirror and didn't like what I saw. Days when the pain of my past felt heavier than the hope of my future. I remember grinding through school after being a dropout for so long, and every assignment felt like a reminder of how far behind I was. Every setback made me question whether I belonged. But that's when I understood something powerful. Belief doesn't show up before the work. You build belief through the work. Every time I pushed through a difficult moment, every time I refused to quit, every time I accomplished something small, I was making a deposit into my own confidence. I was proving to myself that I was worth the effort. You think betting on yourself means you always feel strong? No. Sometimes betting on yourself means you push through while shaking. Sometimes it means you keep going when the fear is loud, when the doubts are screaming, when the uncertainty feels overwhelming. But I learned that if I didn't choose myself, I was choosing my excuses. If I didn't choose to fight, I was choosing to stay stuck. And I had already lived stuck. I wasn't going back. Well, you've got to make a decision that no matter who walks away, no matter who doesn't believe, no matter how long it takes, you're going to invest in your own growth. You're going to commit to your own vision. You're going to become your own source of motivation when everything around you feels empty. That's the real bet, choosing yourself even when the world doesn't. Bandy. Because once you start betting on yourself daily, life starts betting on you too. You don't need permission to be great. And I had to learn that long before anyone ever listened to me. Growing up, I kept waiting for somebody to tell me I was good enough. Waiting for someone to say, go ahead, you can do it. Waiting for somebody to confirm that I wasn't wasting my time. And because I was waiting on that permission, I stayed stuck. I stayed small. I stayed quiet. I lived under the weight of what I thought other people expected from me. And the truth is, most of those people weren't even thinking about me. They weren't losing sleep over my dreams. They weren't planning my future. They weren't carrying my pain. But I was living like their opinion was law. Vance, when I was out there, homeless, sleeping in abandoned buildings, nobody handed me permission to get up. Nobody gave me a certificate saying, you qualify to change your life. I had to give myself permission. I had to look at my situation, cold nights, empty stomach, no direction, and decide I wasn't going to die there. I had to stop asking life to be easier and start telling myself it was time to be stronger. That shift didn't happen because someone encouraged me. It happened because I got tired of my own excuses, tired of my own fear, tired of living beneath my potential. Man, there was a point where I realized the world doesn't reward timid. It rewards bold. It rewards the person who steps into the arena even when they're scared. It rewards the person who says, I may not have the resources, I may not have the support, but I'm going anyway. When I first started speaking, nobody knew my name. Nobody was inviting me anywhere. And the few people who heard me weren't impressed. But I need their approval. I needed my effort. I needed my grind. I needed my conviction. Every room I walked into, I walked in like I belonged, not because someone told me I did, but because I decided I did. Man, greatness doesn't come to the ones who wait. It comes to the ones who claim it. It comes to the ones who stop asking for a seat at the table and start building their own. It comes to the ones who step fully into who they are without waiting for applause. Dan, stop looking for permission that only you can give yourself. So from this moment forward, stop waiting, stop doubting, and step boldly into the life you were built to live.